Well, welcome everybody to the Forever Bristol City podcast, episode number 349. And joining me today are Dave Tovey, Mark Tovey, and Tom from the Robin's Nest, and myself, Dave Potier. We're in a good mood or a bad mood? I mean, the general consensus is that we're playing decent football. Coventry fans said we were the best side to visit the CBS Arena this season, but we lost 1-0. We lost 1-0, and we've only won 2 out of the last 9. That isn't promotion. It's not even play. It's certainly not promotion. It's not even playoff form. As we do always, I'll start with you first, Mark Tovey. 30 seconds on how you felt at the final whistle.
Welcome to the Forever Disappointed podcast, where the teams get smaller by the week with injuries, and we see the same sloppy defending and failure to put the ball in the back of the net. Despite playing against the best team in the division with a fantastic home record, Coventry were there for the taking. But despite some good saves by Carl Rushworth, another goal denied that would have been reversed by VAR. Some great open play, and in a great championship game, City came away from the game with nothing. And they've got to be worried by Sykes' injury next season and next week, and the lack of Neto Borges against his parent club. We're walking away empty-handed. It's great if you had points, if we were getting points for performance, but again, we come away with nothing against the best side in the division. We should and could have beaten them.
There we go, Dave. Your thoughts?
How often do you have to feel like deserved more before it becomes worrying and you start to question the deeper reasons why? Are we learning from our mistakes? I don't think so in certain areas. I see the ball given away in certain parts, knowing that players are going to be far forward. I see failed clearances inside the box 2 games in a row. A lack of a killer instinct leaves me feeling deeply, deeply deflated. Because I watched that game yesterday, and at the end of it, it was one of those real ones that you say, how have we lost that? That's how I felt yesterday. But then you take a step back at the bigger picture, and it's not the first time I felt like we deserve more, whether that's taking 3 instead of 1 or 1 instead of 0. And ultimately, those points are now starting to add up. And the reason that we aren't where we perhaps performance-wise deserve to be is because we just haven't been clinical enough in front of goal and have been punished for the errors that we've made. And I just felt really deflated at full time yesterday.
Yeah. I think that's true what you say about the errors, Dave, because there was a situation in the second half when, again, Mehmeti, we used to berate Casey Palmer when he'd lose the ball in advanced positions. Mehmeti did it. It didn't cause the goal. Mehmeti did it on yesterday. He did it last week against Millwall, lost the ball. That did set up the goal there. Tom, your thoughts on the final whistle?
I think I echo what both Mark and Dave have said, really. It's twice we've had this feeling in 7 days, isn't it? I left Ashton Gate last Saturday after the Millwall game thinking, how the hell have we not won that game? And the same happened when I turned off Robin's TV yesterday, to be honest. Yeah, it's a painful one to take.
Yeah, no, that's it. But it's a results business at the end of the day, as Mark said. You know, you can play well, but if we're not getting it, we're not. Is it the rub of the green? Well, it is the fine margins. I think I tweeted, it was sort of, the Armstrong goal disallowed. I've seen it a couple of times. I sort of can see why the referee gave it. I'd like to see the reverse angle. And if you looked how they appealed for it straight away, but, and then their goal.
They did show the angle on TV. On the review on Robin's TV, yeah, his hand is behind his knee. Mike Dean on Sky.
Yeah, I heard Mike Dean. If Mike Dean says the referee screwed up there, and then the affection that referees have for us, not. But if Mike Dean says the referee got it wrong, it was wrong. Let's look at the starting lineup. Dave, you and I were discussing beforehand, square pegs in round holes. And I can remember Gerhard Struber saying at the podcasters get-together pre-season, he's not one for playing square pegs in round holes. But with the latest injury crisis, which saw Tanner and Viner, we knew about Viner, but Tanner was a bolt from the blue. He's playing Borges on the right, admittedly a different position, and McCrory on the left. What did you think when you saw that lineup? It just looked unbalanced to me in that respect.
It's going to look unbalanced, though, isn't it? At this point, I mean, if you lose 2 of your 3 back 3 from game to game, ultimately I'm not saying ultimately anymore. At the end of the day, you're going to reach a point where it's the best peg for the best hole. It doesn't matter if it fits well or not, because even if you put McCrory back there, you're losing some physicality on the wings. And you can't have you can't fit everything with what's happened at the moment. We're not just suffering like 1 or 2 injuries. We start to get a few players back. Now it's the defense suffering. I saw that lineup yesterday, and to be honest with you, I expected it to be a back 4. I was surprised at a back 3, but I had no problem with Borges playing on that side based on what we're going through at the moment. You're talking about, Viner not being able to play there. You're talking about Tanner not being able to play there. We started with a back 3 yesterday of Pring, Dickey and Borges. Did anybody have that on their bingo card back in August? I'm pretty sure they didn't. So I think he's been put in a really difficult spot, and he's coming up with what he thinks is the best 11 to start a game. So I had no complaints, to be honest with you. And Twine not starting was the right move.
Yeah, it was. Mark, I'm being critical of the lineup from the point of view that Borges is essentially a left-footed player. You've got Pring and him, both left-footers on that side. If you play Borges on that side, McCrory has got the physicality. Okay, you might lose it on the wing. I still don't think McCrory, you got out-jumped by De Silva for the goal yesterday, if you want to be harsh. I don't think McCrory is on the top of his game at the moment, but he has played at right centre-back for Aberdeen. To me, that would have made more sense because you've got 2 right-footed players on that right-hand side if you start with McCrory and Sykes, and 2 left-footed if you start with Pring and Borges. 2 strikers up front as well. That was out of the blue, although, as Dave said, Twine didn't deserve to start. What did you think of the lineup? And am I being harsh on Struber in terms of square pegs in round holes?
No, you've been absolutely right. I mean, it just leaves it unbalanced. I mean, the problems with McCrory on the left when he plays left wing back because he comes back on his right foot. He can't hit the ball very strongly with his left foot. Similarly, you could see how Borges was favouring his left foot on the right side. It just leaves it unbalanced and worries you a little bit. But we're down to last man standing. I mean, we lost 3 centre backs now. People have forgotten about Rob Atkinson, who won't be back to the new year. So what we're going to do in the next game against Middlesbrough when Borges doesn't play? The Twine thing, I could see that was a good decision because Twine deserved to be dropped for his first half performance against Leicester, giving away the goal and generally being anonymous. Randall and Knight were pretty decent in the game yesterday, and Randall even added an opportunity to score that he probably should have put away. So I think that was probably the best side, but you could have exchanged Borges for McCrory in those positions. That would have been far better. But we wonder what we're going to do next week. You might see McCrory play there next week out of necessity.
Yeah, might have to out of necessity. Tom, who I always get them confused: Jamie Knight-Labelle and Josh Campbell-Slowey. Knight-Labelle's the one at Swindon, who good to see him inflict. And I didn't know Agent John Stead was doing his. I probably did read it a few months ago, but Agent John Stead doing his bit to add to the demise, although not anymore because along with Darryl Clark, they both left yesterday. So Josh Campbell-Slowey is the one that is on our books at the moment, isn't he? Yeah, Knight-Labelle's at Swindon. Is he fit at the moment, Campbell-Slowey?
I don't know. I'm probably not the right person to ask that question.
Is he? Let me ask the other 2 guys, Dave and Mark. Is Campbell-Slowey fit, or?
I believe he has been injured recently, but I don't know what with. But somebody on the text.
I mean, I have to say that when we're bare bones with the squad, and you're naming on the bench Yeboah, is there nobody in the under 21s that could come in who is a defender that at least playing in their natural position? Because if somebody
they can do, ring this number. We'll put one up at the end.
Anyway, Tom, what did you think of the lineup? And I'm only ducking down for those of you watching on camera because my Labrador Sydney, he's decided to take lumps out of my office chair. That's the teeth grinding that's going on in the background. Tom, your thoughts on the lineup, and am I harsh?
Yeah, I think much like Dave said, I thought it would be a back 4 with Pring and Dickey as the 2 centre halves, and then Borges would play left back. With the lineup, I think it would be unfair to say that it didn't work yesterday. I know Hadji Wright had a bit of luck on the left side against Borges, but I'm not really sure. I think it's hard to point fingers at Struber for yesterday. I don't know how you chaps felt, but I feel like he did his bit. He put the team together. We did enough to win the game, and it was the chances that we didn't take. And ultimately, how much can you put on the manager for not taking chances? I think that was more important to the game than the lineup, to be honest. It was fine. You know, the square pegs and round hole stuff has to be done with the injuries that we've got. You know, Tanner and Viner, both of them being out is a curse to us, really, isn't it, for that right centre back position?
Yeah. Maybe I am being harsh. It's just, it seems a bit strange, and you know, as needs must. At the end of the day, you know, we did okay. Even though we lost, we did okay. And I go back to what I said at the start of the podcast. Coventry thought we were the best side to play at the CBS this season, which doesn't say much for, well, it shows how level playing field everything is this season. But it is worrying the way your Leicesters and your Southamptons, although they both lost yesterday, didn't they? In fact, all the relegated teams lost yesterday. So there was me saying,
and that's what I would like, just to highlight that if the opposition are saying that you're the best side they've seen, with the benefit of hindsight, it's difficult to say that the lineup was wrong, that he shouldn't have done those things. With hindsight, it's hard to say.
Quickly, all the relegated sides didn't lose because Leicester won. They beat Ipswich.
Sorry, Leicester won. That's right. The other two lost. They've been doing well. Leicester being inconsistent. But the table is starting to get stretched out a bit now. I mean, we're 12 points off second, and you know, I just wonder where we are going to be come New Year's Eve in a couple of weeks' time. Let's get into the action, Dave. I think they had the first chance. Hadji Wright hit the post. They've got a wealth of strikers. Asante wasn't playing for them yesterday, was he? But what were your thoughts of the early exchanges in the game and Wright hitting the post?
Well, I had quite a magical opening 20 minutes, to be honest, because those that were watching on Robin's TV would know that the stream wasn't working. So people probably had to jump around trying to pick up the Coventry stream in whatever way they could. But from what I could see in those opening 20 minutes, we were under a lot of pressure. It was mostly Coventry, as the home side should. They came out of the blocks, you know, all cylinders firing. And they had one opportunity, which I believe hit the post. But I think VTech would have had it covered if it would have been more on target, shall we say. But ultimately, I think we withstood that opening 20 pretty well when you bear in mind it's top of the league away from home. It's not going to be a walk in the park. They're going to come at you. And I thought we stood up to the task pretty well in that opening period.
Yeah, I'd agree. Mark, what did you think?
Yeah, the same problem with the stream, but Coventry pummeled our goal in the first in the first 20 minutes. I think they had about 75% possession, and it looked like a matter of time before they scored. And so we managed to play the ball out from the back. So yeah, good to keep the score at 0-0 for that time, and then we were able to join in the festivities.
Yeah, I too was having problems streaming, so I was relying on Radio Bristol, and everybody was eulogizing over our born again Sinclair Armstrong. He hit the post, and then from Mehmeti's pass, he controlled the ball well, hit the shot on the turn. I'm sure if you didn't see it live, Tom, you saw both of those chances. I mean, Sinclair. Somebody put on OTIP. He is number one striker at the moment because I think he's ahead of Reece. But what Sinclair did well with those two chances and had a good game overall, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I'm looking at the match ratings that FOTMA have given all these players. Probably understand that Rushworth, the Cov keeper, is the man of the match, but I thought the best outfielder on the pitch was probably, from both teams, was probably Armstrong yesterday. And I remember doing a tweet because I went to Fulham away where he played, I think, pretty much 90 minutes, and he was just hopeless in that game. And I was saying, this guy should probably never play for this club again. Yeah. I lost all hope in him, but yeah, he's kind of proved me wrong in recent months. And yeah, we're going to need him, aren't we? But we need him to put the ball in the back of the net. I know it was lots of nearly moments and nearly chances, but that was the story of it for him as well.
Dave, what did you think of Sinclair yesterday? I mean, that rocket up the arse that Tinnion sort of gave him indirectly, both those early chances were fashioned by himself, because the first one, the shot against the post, came out of nothing. Yes, it was a decent pass by Mehmeti, but the way he hit the ball on the turn, that's good.
That chest and turn one especially is as you termed it, it's fashioning something from nothing, essentially. What I don't fully agree with to say he's our number one striker and that somehow he's the one that should play up front on his own. I think a lot of what you're seeing that he does well is because he's in a two. He's much better suited in a two because it allows some of the attention to be taken away and he maximizes the space that's left. And Reece, for me, is underperforming at the moment, but he still does little things that we don't notice. His link-up play is still there, and he's still pulling attention away, which allows Armstrong to express himself because of the space that he's got. So for me, I would always prefer to see Armstrong in a two for that reason, because I think he's much more effective. But unfortunately, it does seem like he's almost cursed. Even when he does put the ball in the net, it's disallowed for very, very harsh reasons, or not quite a finish, a fantastic keeper save. He does need the goals. And I remember a couple of podcasts ago, I said, as long as he plays like that, it doesn't matter if he scores or not. It's just not true. He is a striker. He will be judged on his ability to score goals and assist them. And unfortunately, his record is still extremely poor. And now we are judging him on his performances. We can say he has stepped up. He's really upped his game. Yeah. Now the goals and the assists do have
That's what you said, Dave. You used the term earlier, performances. He's putting in the performances, not finding the back of the net. Mark, Sinclair Armstrong, somebody's chastised me for saying why he shouldn't be number one striker. I was only repeating what somebody had said on OTIP. But what we saw of Reece in the second half against Leicester was illustrative, I thought, of how well he played in the opening game at Sheffield United. And I do, reading comments on OTIP, Reece seems to jog around a lot. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the pair of them yesterday?
I think Dave's absolutely right. Reece creates space for others, and that's why he's seeing Armstrong get those opportunities, but he's not as mobile as he was in those first few games. And I would imagine he's just not fully fit. He's probably still at 95%, and that's better than no Reece at all. But he does bring other players into the game. He's not, unfortunately, he wasn't in the position to put the ball in the net that Randall was late on in the game yesterday. And Armstrong's all-round game has improved remarkably. But football's a very unforgiving beast. You only get judged on goals. His touch, he backs into players, and the referee were giving Coventry soft free kicks. He ran the channels brilliantly. His shots are getting a bit better, a bit more powerful, and he was denied a goal. His hand is tucked behind his knee when he puts that away. But the referee can't get a clear view of it, unfortunately, and we got no VAR in the Championship. The commentary players are appealing, but it's not a clear and obvious handball. That's the problem. Yeah. So the referee's got to trust his gut.
Yeah.
As we're on the goal, there is something that's worth highlighting in it, and it's the double point for me. Is that first of all, the decision itself. It feels harsh because it's so difficult to tell if he does handball it or not. And in my opinion, the referee guesses and he edges on the side of safety because he would rather be wrong in that way than have a go and be handball. He takes the safe option and it is a guess. But the point that we're missing is with the original cross, Armstrong goes for the header. And if he makes contact, he scores, but he misses the ball. And that's what we're talking about in the being clinical enough. When you leave it up to luck, sometimes decisions won't go your way. And it feels like a lot of decisions aren't going our way at the moment. But the fact is on the first cross, you make contact, you put it in, you're not leaving it up to the referee to give you something. I think we were hard done by, but I still think there's stuff we could have done better, even there, for taking a chance.
Tom, your thoughts on that disallowed goal and this bad luck that we seem to be experiencing at the moment?
Yeah, I just think the referee's guessed, doesn't he? You watch it back, I'm sure. I was come on to a point that we might be seeing. I just have a feeling we'll see VAR in the Championship next season. I do think that's probably going to come, but I just think the referee's guessed, doesn't he? As much like Dave said, it's not clear, it's not obvious. I think he's gone with the protests of the Coventry players.
Yeah, they were quite immediate, the protests, weren't they?
Yeah, as you would do. Like
It was like an appeal for an LBW in a cricket match. I mean, all the arms went up, but as one, yeah. And
the thing is, we're going for gut reactions, and we go back to the Millwall game last season when the ball clearly hits Tanner in the chest, and the referee thinks, "Oh, it was handball," and he just said, "Well, that was my gut," and gives it. I mean, this is where we're at, isn't it, with the Championship?
If you see Sinclair Armstrong's reaction to it, it's very much of an instinctive, no, that didn't touch my hand. That's not somebody trying to buy a decision that's already been made. It's one of, no, that didn't touch. And that's the bit that made me think, that hasn't touched his hand. And to be honest, with the view, I can't be sure either way if it did or it didn't. I just can't believe that the referee could be sure. And I think that the two Coventry players doing that have at worst bought a decision there because they've conned the referee into something that he was guessing, and he's gone, well, they're appealing for it, so maybe it did hit his hand, and he's taken the safe decision.
Interestingly, Roger Tully on the text feed has made the point that Coventry players were appealing for offside.
Right.
Good point.
And then there's somebody else. We got good to welcome Coventry City fans that are watching this. Another Coventry fan has said in the commentary, and we were perplexed at the non-goal decision. It does bounce up onto his arm though after review. Yeah. So his arm was not in a.
But if somebody can please just post that online. I've seen a few people post clippets see it does hit his hand, and I've yet to see anything conclusive that you can be. Yep, you're right there. I'd love to see it because I just haven't seen an angle yet.
I'm sure his hand was behind his leg when it hits him.
And if Mike Dean is going against the referee, as much as I dislike him, he doesn't tend to go against referees. And if he's saying I've seen it and it's wrong, it suggests it might well have been.
Yeah. Tom, Sakamoto bought a save from Vitek. Vitek has a little bit of a habit at the moment. It's not costing us yet, but of spilling the ball from long range, hard struck shots. Just to give me your thoughts on that and the chances that they have, because after our goal had been disallowed, Pring did a missed kick in his own box, which didn't cause too much consternation, but they were buzzing a little bit, and they've scored 50 goals this season, haven't they?
Yeah, we definitely rode our luck at times, I think, in that first half, didn't we? I know Haji Wright had a shot across Vitek. I don't know if he got his foot to it or it was just wide, but they were definitely knocking on the door. And I'd say we almost got away with, we probably got away with one, didn't we, in the first half? And then on Vitek, I think this is probably just overall a characteristic you can expect of a young keeper. I just feel like sometimes decision-making is going to be a bit poor because he just doesn't have the experience. And then spilling shots and stuff, I feel like, I don't know, that's the polish you get from your game when you've played hundreds and hundreds of football matches. And he's a young keeper, isn't he?
He's a keeper. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt, without question. Mark, interesting. Tom just said about Wright putting a shot wide in that review of some of the Coventry action in the first half. That was the incident where Mehmeti lost the ball in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
What did you think of Mehmeti's performance yesterday?
A little bit anonymous. He was trying to work positions in the right where he comes inside, and I think he was double marked a lot of the time. So he wasn't able to be creative, but there's still he's a great crosser of the ball, as we'll come on to later. He can lay the ball on a sixpence for a player. So his assists, he should have had another assist yesterday, and I think he's got 7 for the season now, counting the goal against Leicester. So he may not have been able to work scoring positions because clubs are going to be, teams are going to be wise to him coming inside onto his right foot, and they're going to shut him down, which Coventry did yesterday. But he can still work positions to cross the ball. He just didn't get a lot of opportunity because he was clearly marked out as our danger man and double marked.
I thought he was busy yesterday. Sometimes we can feel like he's not making half, where Armstrong is essentially going to be through on goal if he puts more weight on the pass and he gets it slightly wrong. But he's always active. He's always looking for the ball. He doesn't hide. And on another day, he probably has 2 assists yesterday. He did his part twice, but he can't be responsible if people don't take their chances. What was frustrating me, though, in linking it to your point, is that twice in the space of 2 minutes, we're not learning. We've got players forward, and Anis gives the ball away similar to the way he did against Millwall. And then 2 minutes later, again with players advanced, Randall plays the ball short. And with the way we play, there are ways to lose the ball. That's not it. And we're damaging ourselves, and we're not learning, and we'll come on to why that's relevant when we concede later. But sometimes when I watch us play, I just feel like, are we learning here, or are we giving up the same types of chances too often? And that was the way I felt in that first half. And in regards to Vitek, I don't think they're errors. I think he's got down well. He's saved it, and he's been aware enough. And I think one of them was offside in the end, but he knows instantly, I've got to get there. And he makes the second save. I didn't expect him to hold the first one, but he's up, he parries, and he does his job. I didn't see him make an error necessarily yesterday.
Tom's quite rightly picked out somebody who said Mehmeti Mau misses the next game because he got a booking late on. We're past that reset of 5 yellow cards, so it's on to 10, I think, now. So he's got something left. So 0-0 at half time. We're feeling we've stemmed them, 50 goals, as I said before, and they'd won their previous 7 at home. And that's an interesting point. When people say we're the best side that they've seen at their place, they're saying that from a position of strength, because they've had 10. We were home game number 10 for them, and I think it's 7-3-0, or it might be 8-2-0 in terms of their home games. So they know what they're talking about. I think the thing to draw from that is that we gave them a game. We weren't overrun. Let's get into the second half, though, and let's talk about their goal, because it was a cacophony of errors. Really, we conceded a corner, and each of you take me through the goal. I'll go you first, then Mark, you add to it, and Dave, you follow on, because I'm going to put my dog somewhere where he's not chewing certain things. So, Tom, take us through the goal right back from the corner, because it didn't look as though we learned our lessons. We didn't clear our lines, did we?
Oh, I've tried not to watch it back too many times because it's too painful, to be honest. But Roberts got the initial clearance, didn't he? And rather than punt it long, the ball just went straight up in the air. And I think it travelled about 30 yards up in the air and about 5 yards forward. And it left McCrory to chase the ball, sort of looking over his shoulder to see where it was going to land. And it meant that he lost a header in the end to Jay De Silva, didn't it? And a lot of people were criticising McCrory for that. But I think it's a really hard flight of the ball to judge. I don't know. I put myself in that position. I think I've got no idea where that ball's going to land in that position. He's probably looking up and there's floodlights in his eyes as well, to be honest.
Yes.
And yeah, that substitution for Hayden Roberts was an interesting one as well, I thought. I think Struber, did you was ready on the side of the pitch, wasn't he? And then Struber...
You was warming up,
yeah. Interesting one. But yeah, I think the clearance and then the missed header from McCrory sort of created the goal, didn't it, for them?
Yeah, we missed the first bit. Bobby Thomas comes in, beats his marker with ease, and smashes the ball against the right-hand post. And then it flies out, and Roberts just kicks the ball up in the air. I think he's trying to hit Spider Cam, thinks there's a Spider Cam flying over the pitch. And then the players come charging out, because we saw the ball down the pitch. We saw the camera facing on the goal, and De Silva is faced by McCrory. He heads the ball back over. Then we get Mason Clark, tries to push it towards the net, gets an assist of Jason Knight, and then follows it in.
Dave, the goal.
I mean, it's how many mistakes and errors do you want to concede to one goal? It was just messy all round. Like, from the original corner, you've got Reece that just doesn't even try to block the original header, just lets him get a free run on our defence. And then obviously the error from Robert speaks for itself. You could argue that De Silva shouldn't be winning a header against McCrory. But what really frustrated me was Jason Knight, because as the team is coming out, he's literally watching, and he knows that there's a player right there, but he's on autopilot, just go out. And then when it goes back to the other side, it's almost like, oh, there's a player there. To me, he's got to be much more aware. And we had too many players on autopilot with nobody looking to think, oh, there's a few players. They were switched on, we were switched off. And the goal was messy all round. Never mind the fact that after Vitek, Knight doesn't clear it very well. For me, the main issue was none of us were aware. For the second game in a row, we've made a mistake in clearing the ball and haven't dealt with the second phase.
Yeah, and by messy, you meant that with a Y, not with an I, because it was Messi-esque about the goal. Tom's just dropped me a note and sort of said, talking about Reece again, the desire. Reece showed desire to me in the second half against Leicester like he hasn't showed for months, and everybody's saying, "Oh, he's carrying an injury. Well, he shouldn't be playing if he's carrying an injury." Yeah, Tom, would you like to pick up on that with the desire point?
I was going to say, not to scapegoat Emil Rees. I don't think he was the reason we lost the game yesterday. But yeah, I do think that, because we were worrying about his injury, etc. But in that second half against Leicester, that was an electric performance from. Well, there was a much higher level of performance in that game, and I don't know. Is there maybe a desire thing going on with him rather than an injury? Not to take away from the goal or scapegoat him, but I am a little bit worried about that. I think when we signed him, Preston fans were saying the same. Maybe he has one good game in 3, and then he's off it like 2/3 of the time.
Desire from Rees not there in the way we'd like it to be.
Not in the way we'd like it to be. I mean, if you saw him against Leicester, I mean, you get that term. I think that Dave likes to bring that mentality monster is completely transformed in the second half. Yesterday, I think he was okay, but not as alive as he has been in the opening games, and that's all I can think of. Is he's not as fit. He's not as fit as he was. He just looks very lumbersome when he's moving around. Not as mobile. I mean, that's it. If we judge him on the game against Sheffield United at his peak, going from right to left, making things happen, holding the ball up in good positions, the strength to beat players. He's just not that player at the moment. So what do? We can't bring it if we,
Well, yeah. What do we do? It's a good point.
Yeah.
We'll come to that in a minute, Dave. I've likened Rees to, in terms of speed, to Chris Martin. Yeah, and if you think what Chris Martin was like in that really good season he had within the WSM, I mean, would a Chris Martin at the height of his form at Bristol City, which I think was 3 complete seasons, would a Chris Martin shape up more so than Rees is in this team? Because he had a knack with goals, Martin. What do you think?
No, I don't necessarily agree with that. I do have to agree that, when I used Rees Lightning at the start of the season, it seems a long time ago now, and he seems to have lost that zip, that edge. I don't know if he is carrying an injury. There are certain runs that he makes where it's like, oh, it is still there. It just doesn't seem to have that movement that he had before. And at the beginning of the season, he was missing chances, but he was bringing so much more to the side. Now it feels like we judge him on whether he scores or he doesn't. When he scores, it's a good performance because he's the only one that can finish like that. When he doesn't, he hasn't really impacted the game. I feel like he's still doing things that we don't fully appreciate in bringing other players into the game, but not in the same way that he was at the start of the season.
I think Skull Legacy must be a member of the Rees family. This is somebody commenting on the text feed here, because everybody's Jacob said he's missed a fair share of sitters so far this season, and Skull Legacy said still scored more than Sinclair, Fally, Cornick and Thomas all put together. That's fair comment, Skull Legacy, but if you look at the minutes he's had to the rest of those, Sinclair apart, then that's not really a valid comparison. Mark, Jay De Silva, I was chatting to the commentary lads last week on their podcast. He's doing all right, isn't he, for them? The little bloke.
Yeah, I mean, people would have thought that his career may, he wouldn't have played. It's such a high level again after he left City, but he's proved us wrong. Left on a free transfer to go to Coventry 3 seasons ago, and he's revitalised his career, and he's got into the Wales squad as well. There was a chance of going to the World Cup. They managed to squeeze through in the next 2 games and probably beat Italy at the Cardiff City Stadium. So yeah, good on him. He wasn't a regular starter for them in previous seasons, but he's now nailed down his place, and he's playing. He's playing in a side that looked like they're going to the Premier League. I don't necessarily think he can play at that level. What is he, about 28 now? Probably. So this is probably his best opportunity to play in the Premier League. His one shot. So yeah, good on him. Good, honest player. Always there. They worked a lot of triangles right to left, and that's where you saw you saw De Silva be effective, getting Radoni into those areas a lot of the time on the left. And with Mason Clark just continually working triangles with De Silva, getting the ball into the box, taking shots, getting headers, just constant pressure with lots of bodies, and he's part of that.
Yeah,
good system.
Tom, one of the Coventry lads has just said Jay De Silva's been a revelation this season under Lampard. I always felt with Jay De Silva that he could offer more. I always got, and this is this mentality thing. You know, I always felt with Joe Bryan that he could do it when he wanted to in the big games. Yeah, Jay De Silva, teams used to exploit him with when he played for us. Number of times he ventured over the halfway line for us was minimal, but you always felt he had it there. You know, almost as good as a Danny Rose, who was crap when he was on loan for us, but went on and had a good career at Tottenham. Is it a mentality thing that this is sort of just part of Bristol City, that these players sort of are coasting? And Jay De Silva, classic example, he wasn't cheap. Another one who walked out the door for nothing at the end of his contract. What are your thoughts on him and this mentality thing that seemed to come through?
Yeah, I look at it's a famous saying I get told quite a lot in my swimming, because it's the great separator of some of the good sports people from the absolute best is a mentality thing. I know Roy Keane's very famous on his punditry for talking about desire and stuff like that a lot. I think we go back to Reece, thinking of that performance he put in against Sheffield United. It's really easy to get up for your debut, right? You're making your debut in the Championship for a new team. There's a revenge sort of arc to it. It's easy to get up for that game. It's easy to get up for a game when there's 20,000 fans at Ashton Gate willing you on to equalise in a game against a former Premier League winning team. But it's sort of the games where it's a little bit harder to get up for that we sometimes struggle with, I think, as Bristol City, in terms of desire and drive to play at our best, I think. That was probably escaping your question, but
that's my thoughts. Let's get back into the action. Dave, in the second half, it was is it Carl Rushworth? Is that the goalkeeper's name? Yeah.
Yes.
Rushworth, Randall header, tipped over. Reece should have scored, didn't cause him that. But that save from Mayulu right at the death. I mean, you know, Mayulu did everything right there. As I say, you know, what was his overall contribution like? He only came on for, 6 minutes. But was that a miss, or was that just a good goalkeeper save? Because he showed quick feet to get down to it. And those other chances as well. I mean, Randall, another day, that goes in on another day. And we'd be over the moon if we'd have come back from there with a point.
Well, look, keepers aren't going to give it to you. At the end of the day, we've got a very good goalkeeper at the back. You know, he saved us a few points through the season. To my mind, the Randall one, first of all, to address that one, I feel like the cross was well weighted. I think it was from Roberts or Anis? It may have been from Roberts, I believe. His timing of the run is fantastic. He gets himself in position, but he probably jumps a bit too early, and he puts it in the one place that the keeper can make a fantastic save. If he can put it to the left, just to the right, or he times his jump a bit better, something is made of that. But putting it above the keeper is the one place that he can save it. And in terms of the Reece header, ultimately, that's what we're judging Reece on. That's the moment. We talk about everything else in the game. Is he doing it? That stadium went silent. They were expecting that to hit the back of the net.
Because it was the same. It was a similar header to what he equalised against Leicester, wasn't it? Where the ball
and the same run. He waits for the moment. He gets in front. He's got that yard of space, and you expect him to put it away. And if you're a striker, you are judged on your ability to finish that or not. Whether or not Randall could have done better, it's harder to say because of the timing of the jump. One of those needs to be scored. It just needs to be. That it's as simple as that. And that, for me, is the main concern, is that we've done everything. We can talk about the lineup. We can talk about the performance that we deserve more. When we've had chances, we haven't taken them. And there are lots we can talk about. The need of additional forward options to make sure we take those chances. Other bits and pieces. But what we can't talk about necessarily is the philosophy that's getting us there. Because we played well, it was enjoyable, but we didn't take chances. And in terms of the last chance for Fally, I think it's just behind him. It's actually, he strikes it pretty cleanly, and it is a fantastic save that the keeper is able to anticipate because of where the ball is, knowing that it's not going to go high. It's still a great save, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of save that Vitek's done a few like that for us this season. Tom Skull Legacy said, still believe if we gave Fally the minutes we gave Sinks, he would come good. I don't know about that, because for me, Mayulu's got that languid style of just no energy, and that's different to desire. But then, maybe the two are related. But
when you sorry to interrupt, but when you talk about people coming off the bench, it's still baffling to me the fact that Skinner wasn't on the bench. What was the point in the recall? To me, it's a vanity project of trying to go for a cup or trying to show, hey, look at what the youth team's doing, rather than putting someone's career first. That recall makes no sense if he's not getting on the first team bench. He was away playing men's football, thriving, and we've gone to put him back in the youth side.
Dave, that's the same as Yeboah and last season Morrison. These are players that are showboating for look, we're involving academy players. But it's a good point, Tom. Getting back to Maulu and those comments, if we give him minutes, he might come good like sinks.
I've come to the conclusion that Maulu's going to leave this football club, go somewhere in Europe and score 20 goals a season wherever he plays. I just don't think the archetype of player that he is suits English football and what particularly Bristol City fans want from a centre forward. I just don't think he suits the English game. That would be my conclusion on him. I don't know how you guys feel. He's clearly got an eye for a goal. Whenever I've seen him in the training that they've done from an open perspective, he just has a sixth sense of where the posts of the goal are, and probably in terms of his actual number 9 positioning. But I just don't think he suits English football, to be honest.
Do you think that, Dave?
He would need the time to learn the Championship that you just can't get, and you shouldn't be learning in the Championship. At the end of the day, strikers aren't necessarily ready-made, but the jumps that you have to make are just too much for a team trying to push on. We're not in a luxury position to say, we're going to put him in and he'll learn his trade. We're seeing some fruits with Armstrong, for example. Is it enough? No. If you really want to push on, he can't be part of the conversation about being one of your strikers. And that's just reality.
So, final whistle goes. 1-0 defeat. We're there down in 10th with 12 points off second. If we'd have picked up a point or 3, we wouldn't be feeling like I'm feeling at the moment. I think you guys as well. So they got a week off now to recover. Injuries. Sykes felt his quad. Probably means you won't see him until Easter, knowing Bristol City's injury record. Coming up against a Borough team that under new manager, I can't remember his name now, but their new boss, Hegger, is it something like that? They'll be looking for 5 wins on the spin. Tommy Conway scored his first goal since August, albeit from the penalty spot. That was in a 3-1 win against QPR. Morgan Whittaker on the mark for them again. Tom, I think you said, or I know Dave certainly did, got to beat Borough, haven't we? But it's not going to be easy on what is known as Black Saturday, because back in the day, people used to go shopping rather than go to football. But these days, City count them even if they don't turn up.
Yeah, it's critical. I don't want to sound like I'm catastrophizing, but I think if we're not in with a shout of the playoffs come January, if we're completely out of the mix, I think it almost shapes where this football club will be in 2 or 3 years' time, with the decisions that I think will be made at board level at the football club. And we've got very few games now until January, so this Borough one is a must win. The solace I would take, though, I said this going into the run of games that we've got. I don't think we would win all of them, but I think we can win any of them. And I think, you look at the 3 games we've had against Millwall, Leicester and Coventry, I don't think anyone watching those games would say that we were completely out of it or got outplayed.
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, I predicted from the run of 5 games up to and including West Brom, 7 points. We got to win the next 2. But Borough is probably going to be, just based on their recent form, Dave, is going to be the toughest game in the batch of 5 that we've had so far, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to be an incredibly difficult game. And a slight irony, 1 year ago, we were doing a podcast going into this game before Christmas. We were 7 points off, and I said it's a must-win game. If not, we're basically done. Here we are with a similar feeling. I wouldn't say that it is a must-win game, but it's certainly an emotionally driving game to go into Christmas with 2 away games in that period. The reality is we haven't picked up points that we've probably deserved and should have done. I'm probably being too nice, because you get what you deserve in football if you play enough games. But we haven't picked up enough points that the performances make you feel like we're on the table. And because we haven't done that, we're now playing a difficult game here. We're 4 points off the playoffs. For all the attractive football, for all how enjoyable it's been, we're still back here at this moment in time. And the danger is that it could peter out into nothing before we even get to January, February, if we don't start picking up points soon. And it needs to turn around against Middlesbrough. We need a win. We need a response, because otherwise the pressure keeps growing and growing. And it is what Tom said. If you get to January, decisions will be made based on how many points you are off the playoffs.
But look, even if we were to lose the next three, which is possible. I mean, Borough home. Well, no, not lose the next three. We could get a point against Borough. West Brom are a bit iffy at the moment, but, you know, I've been to West Brom over the years on Boxing Day more than once. You know, their crowd will be up for it. They beat Sheffield United, who look to be coming up on the rails based on recent form. And then the return game at Millwall on the Monday, which is going to be a bit tasty. We could have another run of 3 games producing 1 point, yeah, which would put us on, 31. But we could still, even after that run, be only 6 points off the playoffs. So you could argue, because at the moment we're 4 points off. That table has stretched literally in the last week.
That we've gone from against Millwall winning being third to 4 points off. And if we did pick up 1 point from the next 3, at best you're going to be 7 points off the playoffs, maybe 8. And it is just not what you want to be, because we have enough experience there to know that once you do fall behind like that, it's really, really difficult to catch up, and it takes an incredible run. Look at what we had to do last season to close that gap. It's not a gap that you close easily once it is established.
Well, when you say what we had to do, we did it because of home form. Yeah. Because if our away form had been even mid-table away form, and our home form had been good, but not quite as good as it was, and the points total being, the points total is the funny thing. That just fudges everything last year. I mean, we're going to be at the halfway stage of the season in 2 games' time on, if we just pick 1 point out of the next 3, the halfway stage on 31 points, right? Yeah. So that means in the second half of the season, we've got to get 42 points to get to, and that's with 20. We're into 2 point a game territory. So you're right. And Tom, you said it shaped the future of the club for the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you, because I don't profess to be an expert on the numbers, far from it, and we'll talk about that in a second. But, you know, do you think we're going to can you see us writing this season off in the transfer window, like letting Mehmeti go? The Coventry guys were saying to me, they'd heard a word that they were sniffing around Mehmeti. How would we feel if Coventry came in and bid £1 million for Mehmeti, and we said, oh yeah, okay, you can have him for that? How are we going to feel about that?
Yeah, the thing for me is I personally, to be fair, I don't think we'll sell Mehmeti or Viner in January. I still think the two of them are worth more to us for the rest of the season than any fee we could get. But it's just the case of, we get to the summer, we've not achieved what we wanted to this season. We've got Mehmeti and Viner. They're going to have very tempting offers to go elsewhere. I think we'll really struggle to keep Mehmeti. Sykes has obviously still not been offered a contract by the sounds of it. And then we've got Knight, McCrory, probably other players as well with like a year left. I just think it could be a scary situation in the summer if we don't hit where we want to this season.
Why do you say, sorry, Dave, why do you say scary, Tom? This to me smacks of a lack of confidence in, talk about desire. Is there a lack of desire in the boardroom?
Well, he wants to sell the club, doesn't he, Mr. Lansdowne? So I still feel like we're going to I hope we make some signings in January. But yeah, I just don't know. I mean, the guy wants to sell the club, doesn't he, at the end of the day?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like me saying I want £2 million for my house. Yeah, but the most expensive house in your street's only gone for $1 million. So you got no chance. But that's a whole different conversation, a whole new podcast on that. Dave, what were you going to say about this despair that Tom seems to be feeling a bit at the moment? And I have to share it, to be honest.
Just to find a bit of positivity within it, that's all. And we've lost another man down. The positivity, and I see what you think about this, Tom, is I look at our position in the league table. The games that I've watched, the performances, I try to correlate that with where we are in the league. I don't feel like it matches right now. That gives me help. Do I feel like we've had the rub of the green in terms of refereeing decisions? No, I don't. That gives me a bit of like inspiration going forward. That luck might just turn round. And I feel like there are bits and pieces like taking chances. I feel like as we are playing, we could easily go back up the league again. It's going to take a run. But I do feel like at this season, that we have it within us in the way that we didn't last season. And if we could do it last season, there's no reason why we can't this season. It will matter in January. The fact is that even if we wanted to sell them, they still have to want to go. I don't think anyone's going anywhere in January, even if a big offer comes in, unless it's in their best interest to take that contract offer. So I think we're going to keep them until the summer. And I don't think we're going to write this season off until, realistically speaking, you're getting to 13, 16 points off the playoffs.
All right. But then how do we improve the squad in January? Because, look, it's odds on. I was chatting to a Bournemouth friend of mine, and he said, yeah, he confirmed what is pretty obvious now, that Semenyo's going, yeah? And that deal will be done by the 14th of January. That's part of the deal that's there, right? There will be £10 million coming in. Let's get into the finances now, right? This is all about how they manage politics sometimes. I'm pretty certain in January, when the window opens, they'll come out with the figures for the year to June 25. And I think it's going to show a loss of about between 18 and 20 million. So that's in this year. So that 10 million of Semenyo money comes into the year ending 26. Where things start getting interesting is that I think this year, before any player sales, because of the cost base, we're heading for a £20 million loss. And then the year ending July 27, unless something fundamentally changes in the cost base, the club is running at a 20 million loss. The year ending 27, for financial fair play purposes, the year that had the 3 million loss with the Scott sale in there, right? That drops out of the equation. So you're looking, because we haven't got the Semenyo money yet, but you're looking at £20 million loss for June 25 incoming, likely £20 million loss for June 26 incoming, and unless something changes on the cost side, £20 million loss. That's £60 million of losses, right? You can negate that. You can negate that by absorbing the 10 million Semenyo money, which puts it right. And then what you can then do is in the summer, on the 1st of August, you could sell Jason Knight for 10 million quid, and that will fall into the accounts for the year ending June 27. And therefore your 60 million pound loss has become 40 million. Yeah. And give or take the odd player sale here or there, you're within financial fair play. Now,
so the short story of that is get promotion or go backwards, essentially.
That's it. And I think that's what you're saying, Tom, isn't it?
Yep. I felt it coming a few weeks ago. I was like, hang on, this is where we could be in the summer. We're getting rid of all of our best assets, basically. Sorry, Dave. No.
When we speak about what we need, because Tom, when I was speaking with you yesterday, you mentioned something interesting to me. Do we have enough goals in this side? We have Reece, who's produced, he's done pretty well so far, but we feel like we need more. You have Twine and Mehmeti, and genuinely, I feel like if Anis isn't doing it, who is? And once you look past Sykes, it gets pretty threadbare. Let's go through some of the names, for example. Randall, is he doing his bit in front of goal? Not really. McCory's gone from the modern-day Cafu to, I don't know what he is right now. He's kind of disappeared in terms of goals. Knight doesn't really step up and deliver many goals. We just don't have enough players that produce goals and they are confident in front of goal. And that is what is really, really hurting us. And it really is a case of if Anis doesn't do it, or we don't have a free kick, there just aren't enough goals coming from enough places on that pitch.
Twine had a free kick in the golden zone yesterday, and somebody said to me last week, if Twine comes on, he'd score in that free kick, the two we had against Leicester. Well, he might. He's more likely to do it than Mehmeti direct from a free kick, but he hit it well yesterday, but it went into the wall.
And this is where we really have a problem with the whole squad makeup, because Twine over the season has been fine. He's been fine over the season, but his form has dropped off. And sometimes when a player's form drops off, give them a rest, give them a break, make them understand that there's competition for places. And I'm happy to see that Stokes was back on the bench yesterday. That's promising going forward. But when you look at Reece and Armstrong as the two strikers, for me, yesterday, the natural option of a replacement was Sykes to go up front in the second half. But he's injured at half-time. That's the issue that we've got. We just don't have enough goals in the side. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I do. I go back to. I'm going to sound like Roy Keane on repeat, I think, but I go back to the word of desire as well. And I think, I don't know, are we anticipating and hungry enough in the box to score goals from every opportunity? That's a question I would ask. And I think one thing that drives desire, and it sort of links to what you said, Dave, is competition in the squad to actually get in the team. And I think with the injury situation we've had this season, and well, we've got a thin squad. I don't think we actually do. We've got plenty of players for each position. We've just had a load that are injured, but I think competition creates desire in the team, like just a level of desire to even get in the team in the first place. And I think there are probably too many players that almost know they're going to start every week. Like I think maybe McCrory's an example of that. Reece probably too. I think Twine at times has been an example of that. 3 players there who probably just know they're going to start every week and don't have to work the extra to keep their place.
And David, based on that, do you all the numbers that you've just said to us, you're implying that you think we're going to stick at best in January? There is no hope of a twist.
Well, I mean, look, the player that we almost signed in the summer, I just looked him up while you've been talking. It was Jacob Brown from bloody Luton. And had he not failed his medical, right? Had he not failed his medical, he'd have been a Bristol City player, blocking the academy pathway for the likes of Ollie Thomas and Luke Skinner. And this is Jacob Samuel Brown is a professional footballer who plays as a forward winger or wing back for Luton Town. Bloody Luton Town, yeah? And I think he's just come back after injury. I don't think he's played hardly any games this season. Yeah, last season he played 29 matches and scored 4 goals. Well, we've done well with our players from Luton, haven't we? Cal Naismith, what a great little player he was, yeah? I mean, you know, how would we feel if we went out in January and signed, not necessarily him, somebody like him? I'd feel very, very pissed off, to be honest. Now, if we went out and signed as a lad who's top scorer for Barnsley at the moment in League One, yeah, you know, I think, oh, well, that's showing a bit of ambition. What I would like to see is them saying, right, the future is uncertain. We don't want to commit to 4-year contracts on bang average players because, you know, you got to bear in mind, Reece is, I know we got him for nothing. Yeah, he's on high wage. He is your 10 to 15 goal a season championship striker, right? We've got to get somebody in that's better than him, that's going to make you two guys and probably most of the fan base think, oh, we've addressed a goal scoring problem. That's not going to come cheap. The only way we could do that, in my view, is go out and get a bloody good striker on loan from a Premier League club that might be on 30 grand a week wages as a youngster in a Premier League team. And if we've said, oh, we'll fund 2/3 of that, 20 grand a week, right? Which only makes him, you know, he's not earning double what Reece is getting, but we're funding 20 grand a week for 20 weeks. £400,000 that's going to cost. Even if it cost $1 million, that's better than going out and signing a turkey like Mayulu at 8 grand a week, but we got him round our neck for 4 years unless somebody takes
David, it's actually worse than that, because to me, I can't unsee the fact that there's a power play happening at the club right now. Because I know I'm repeating myself slightly, but when they record Skinner, truly it's, wow, they see something. They want to put him on the bench. They're thinking first team football. And I myself got a bit excited, like this is a possible prospect coming through. They're going to give him time. They're being brave. But no, they went for the Youth Cup and stuck him in the under 21s or under 18s and nowhere near the first team. And that tells me that if Struber's not going to put him on the bench often enough, I'll give him game time, someone else has made that decision to bring him back without communication. And these same people are the people that we have to trust to bring in the right signing. It's messy with a Y at the moment.
Yeah. And the other thing as well, here's another player, right? Okay, Cardiff City. They got that guy called Salek, scored again for them yesterday. I think they won 4-3 against Doncaster. That's a statement sign. He's go and knock on their door. And they probably wouldn't have him because Cardiff maybe think they want to get back at the Championship at the first time of asking, which they could well do. And you've got to bear in mind, since the Lansdowns have been in charge, Cardiff have had 2 bloody spells, albeit short, in the top flight, and we've had none. Tom, do you think... I don't think he's going to be backed in January. Do you think Gerhard Struber will be manager of Bristol City this time next year?
Oh, I was going to hopefully mention Gerhard Struber as a positive, because I think I mean, I've been in the content space for Bristol City for a very short period of time, and only lived in Bristol and watched them every week for sort of 3 or 4 years. But I think this guy is one of the best managers I can remember for Bristol City. I think he's very professional. He's very positive. His style of play really works with the players. I think this is the guy. If we're ever going to back someone, this is the guy to back based on the 21 games we've seen so far. And I remember having a Barnsley fan on my channel in pre-season when we got Gerhard Struber, and he said he left Barnsley because the board would refuse to spend money on transfers. That was the long and short of it. He had a job offer from the Red Bull setup, I think, and that's why he left Barnsley.
New York Red Bulls, yeah. So the answer to the question is, you don't think he will be?
I think he deserves better, to be honest.
I don't. Right, so it's a no. Because
honestly, I think yes, because of the work that he's doing. He's creating an environment for younger players to succeed. And we have to be patient, because it's not just the right new guy comes in, youth players on the pitch. Sometimes you've got to give them minutes now and again to see how they succeed in that moment. Do they sink? Do they swim? Are they ready for it? And it is a bit of trial and error, because results matter. You can't just put them in. For now, I'm reasonably content with the youth minutes that we've seen. I would like to see more as the season progresses. I don't think he's building for a season and done. He won't be stupid. He's aware of the contract situation and what's happening. And I don't see him as someone, right, guys, I'm off. I'm not getting the backing. I see him as someone that is putting the effort in to succeed in the long term.
Interesting. Well, one would hope so. I'm just fearful. I mean, look, I think we're trying to be positive. I mean, we're in the top 10 of the division, for goodness sake. What's not to like about that? We're frustrated. I'm going to get first-hand experience of doing a Q&A with Brian Tinnion on Thursday, because he is guesting at the Senior Reds. I'm sure he'd like to be going into that guest appearance on the back of a level of success. I think if it had been a draw against Leicester and a point from yesterday, we wouldn't be feeling quite how we're feeling at the moment. But if there's any particular questions you want me to ask Brian Tinnion, there'll be a lot from the Senior Reds on the day as well. And let me just say,
why did he recall Skinner, or who did it, and why?
There you go. Dave and Robin, anybody else, you can email me or contact me on OTIB with questions that you'd like, because whilst I think I've got the opportunity to sit alongside him, I'd probably be sat on a table adjacent, because there's a lot of people turning up for that. But if you've got questions that you think should Brian Tinnion answer, you'd like an answer to, I'll ask them. I'm sure my questions would be similar to a lot of yours. But let me just say this. I'm not in the Tinnion bashing campaign. I always feel, we had a player there who was a legend for the club. We have a player there who was given the managerial job probably too early, but in his one season in charge, he finished out of the playoffs by 1 point. He wanted an experienced assistant. He ended up with good old Keithy Millen, But everybody remembers Tinnion's managerial career on the 7-1 defeat against Swansea and the dreadful, maybe he was coupled with that, the dreadful transfers he made in that summer of 2005, Michael Bridges and others in that list. But, I'm not in the Tinnion bashing campaign. But, he's brave coming along to that environment, although saying that they're all passive old gits like I am. Tom, if you have one question, Dave's asked, if you have one question to ask Brian, what would that be?
Oh, I can't think of. There's two. There's, are we going to spend some money in January? And the other one is, what are we doing with Mark Sykes' contract? What's happened there? Those would be the two.
No, that's the obvious one. I mean, asking why we're losing 20 million every single year, where's the money going? That's not his problem. That is a question that you'd ask Tom Rawcliffe, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to Tom on the podcast before the end of the season. And Jamie here has said on the text, Tinnion loves the club, and I'm sure he tries his best. That's it. He does try his best. He's not there freeloading or anything like that. He's made mistakes, and for every Maulu, there's a Jason Knight. He has bought some good players, but when you're shopping, You know, it's like buying your fresh goods from Aldi. You know, occasionally you get a bit of broccoli and you think, oh, that's not lasted more than 2 days or something like that. Yeah.
The issue is that you're mixing two things, because me growing up, he was, you know, a staple, a legend of a player, one of my icons. I personally don't think that if you put everything together, he's doing a good job in this current position as you weigh everything up. And my issue is that when you ask him questions like at the fan forum, he invents truths, saying that you was signed as a wingback. It's just not true. And that just creates trust issues. When he talks about doubling our money for Armstrong or Fally, it's like, well, that's a lie. You know, and it's really frustrating because he does do good work. You know, there's been many, many good signings. You look at Knight, look at Bird. It's not a one size fits all. You're terrible or you're not.
Yeah,
he's just.
Well, look at Stokes. I know Stokes is another good signing. He's just been injured. You know,
exactly. But the
Borges, getting Borges as a loan player, that's a good signing.
Sure. No question about that. But
Nally was a good signing, but he pandered to me. He pandered to Manning getting bloody Twining.
But at the same time, if you're going to take the credit for those things, you also have to take your share of the blame for, well, we meant to sign 4, but we accidentally signed 7. And because we took a punt on £2 million plus strikers, we've now got no money. If you want to take credit for things, you've also got to take your share of the blame. Oh, and by the way, we signed a player in you that we don't actually play his best position ever. You know, it's a two-way street.
And we pissed off Tommy Conway to such
an extent. Exactly. Yeah. There are many
that's what I'm
elements.
trying to say. There's two sides. There's two sides to every argument, and when you put those alongside it, it balances it up. But you know, let's see what he has to say. Sadly, we won't be able to record any of that because it's meant to be in a private meeting, but people will hear what he says, and you know, I will report back on that accordingly. Guys, I think we're done for this week. It's good to have a week off. Busy schedule coming up. Hope Mark gets well. Mark had to leave us because he had a bit of a funny tummy, I think, earlier on in the broadcast. So we were left with the 3 amigos. And it's less confusing with 1 Tubby rather than 2. Yeah, but there we go. Any final points from you, Tom? Are you sort of do you think when it's a free week like this, do you just sort of focus on your real life, or do you look at the fans forum and X every hour as I do, sadly?
I've got a load of plates that I'm spinning at the moment, so I'll be doing my other YouTube channel and in swimming this week. My part in thought though is, as Bristol City fans, all we can do is get behind the team on Saturday against Middlesbrough. That's our job. We have to get up for the game and do everything we can to get our team over the line because they need us on Saturday. That's all I'll say.
And Dave, out in Germany, different feel to the place compared to Spain, where you spent many years.
If you knew how often I just clicked on OTIB or clicked on X or just looked for news or looked at the league table, possible points, it's something that when you are a fan of a team, and this doesn't just apply to Bristol City, it is every day of every moment. It catches you in your daydreams. And there are certain moments where you're just like, I am not thinking about football for a couple of days. And then within a day, you're like, right, next game, wins on the table. You know, for me personally, I'm going to 3 games over Christmas. Yeah. And I can't wait. I'm like, finally, some Robins football live, you know. I can't express, like, for me, that's a massive part of Christmas is I get to see live football. Yeah. But at the same time, as someone put one of the first posts, it is the hope that kills you. For every high, it hits you. And conversely, at the beginning of this year, if you remember on one of the podcasts, I said, I'm not feeling the love. Where does it take us at the end? This season, I've been really positive, feeling like, wow, this is great. Now I feel deflated. And it's like, please stop. Just let me feel the right essence of it.
I'm 20-something years, 20. How old you know that? Yeah, I know how old you are. We're not giving ages away, but I'm over 25 years older than you. So it is the hurt. It's the hope that kills. And as I say, 50th anniversary season since we last went up. You know, and those.
At least you lived it. At least you got to live
it. I lived the 4 seasons, and 45 years since, and all the trials and tribulations since. But it'll still be there. Hopefully, I'll still be around.
Can I just say one more thing before you wrap up? That on Robins TV yesterday, they were talking about the 2-2 with Sunderland, and 2-2 with Coventry. When the 2 teams knew the score. those were the stories that I grew up on from my dad. The little moments of City, the Adam Walsh turn that hits the square post, and all the real near stories, and the fact that they were there, and the dreams and memories that he got to live. And I always, as a child, thought one day it's going to be my turn.
Yeah, no, that's
and right now it just feels like
it's far away than it's ever been. But you're absolutely right. Those memories, I expect your dad's probably same age as me. But, you know, the Norman Hunter playing for us, playing for Bristol City and whacking a free kick in the open end so hard that his boot flew off in the opposite direction, you know, beating Chris Garland with 2 goals against Liverpool in May 77, a week before that famous Coventry game. Yeah, being 8th in the Premier League, I think it was 78, 79 season, going up to Ellen Road. Leeds were on the decline a bit then, and winning 3-1. You know, I mean, it is a lifetime ago.
You know, Paul Cheesley at Arsenal is
there
it's behind legends that are made of.
Stood at the clock end. You know, I was there. You know, I was there. The Portsmouth game. You know, the Leeds game in the cup. You know, it's all those memories. But that's why we do it, and that's why the hope is there. You know, and as Tom said, get behind the team. You know, we set this up in 2020 just because we were starved of being able to talk about it in lockdown, and now it's a sort of an outlet for venting one's feelings and what have you. And thanks to everybody that watches us and supports us on the podcast platforms and obviously on YouTube as well. But there we go. We're done for this week. Have a good week, everybody.